Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. My name is Hailey Rowe, and I'm a sales and marketing coach and LinkedIn lead generation service provider. I work with health, life, and mindset coaches and online service-based business owners to help them get more sales, shift their time to the client-generating activities instead of just the busy work, and overcome that social media overwhelm. Let's get into the show. I have a new free gift for you. It's my free time management system. And this is something that you're going to actually be able to stick with. It's nothing too fancy. It's not going to require spreadsheets. And it's basically teaching you how to love your calendar, how to plan your week and prioritize the result producing activities, how to prevent procrastination and keep getting better and better at time management with my 5 reflection questions you can use weekly. And it's what I personally used when I was juggling so many side jobs when I was first growing my business. So I can't wait to share it with you. It's at haileyrowe.com/time planning. It's all one word. And if you need the direct link or you can't find it, just feel free to DM me at Hailey_Rowe, mention the time management system, and I will get you the exact link. All right, let's get into the show. Hey, I am here today with a special guest, Chapman, and she's going to introduce herself and her story in just a second. But today we're going to talk about owning your mind to own your business and what are some things you can be doing to prevent the overwhelm in your business and all sorts of stuff. So Heather, why don't you first just share who you are and what you do, and we'll go from there.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm so grateful to be here with everyone. I am a holistic high performance coach for conscious entrepreneurs, helping you own it through self and business mastery so you can live happy and fulfilled, because life is meant to be blissful. And I found that I was working with so many conscious entrepreneurs, and one of the key things that was helping them be successful was that we worked on them as a whole. Mind, body, soul, and spirit, plus the business strategy. And it was those clients that I was working on that were owning the self-mastery that were scaling and thriving in business. And the ones struggling in business were the ones that were letting their self-care go to the wayside and allowing themselves to continuously burn out. So we do want to take that full holistic approach in owning ourselves, but also owning our business, and truly becoming masters of ourselves and our business skills and strategies. And so I'm happy to share so many great tips for you guys today on the show.
Awesome. Yes. So what would you say one of the big, I know one of the things that the people watching this might be dealing with is they feel almost overwhelmed about where to even start, and they get very overwhelmed with all the information and what they should be doing with their business. So any tips for kind of navigating that mindset block?
The first thing that always comes to me is do what sets your soul on fire. Like, what do you love and how can you do more of what you love? What is the thing that everyone tells you you're really good at? They're thanking you for it. And how can you do more of that? Lead with that in your business. We'll take myself back to 5 years ago. I had 3 businesses, 3 contracts. I worked 7 days a week. I volunteered. I did 18-hour days. I was constantly in a burnout cycle. And I realized until I took 80% to 90% of my energy and put it towards one thing, then I was only going to get 10% results in the 10 things I was doing. So I really encourage you to do what sets your soul on fire, do what you love the most, and lean into that one thing. Once you have that one focused, prioritized business running and functioning and spinning like a well-oiled plate, then you can go and launch the next thing. It's when we try to do it all that we get small results in everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. I will say what was last year? 2022 was a big year of very much focusing and constraining for me, because the year prior, I was testing out some new services and, working a little bit with my mentor and a partner who we were trying to do some new services together. And what I realized through that is I had to go through that because I learned what I was really good at and what I didn't really feel the passion about or want to do with clients. And so then in 2022, I was able to say, no, these are the 2 services I'm best at. I am just focused on these 2 offers for this whole year. And I had my best year in business because I was like, no, I'm saying no to more things. And I'm just going to focus really on what can do best. And so I think a lot of times people have FOMO though,
Yeah.
like fear of missing out, or what happens after they narrow down is like, I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. And so what would you say to people who are like, okay, well, I'm going to narrow down, but what about blah, 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 all these other things? I feel like I'm, missing out, or I feel like I'm not doing enough.
First, you have a lifetime. So often you have what I call your big, hairy, audacious goal. So you have a big vision, and it's not all going to happen all at once. So I want you to actually think of probably all the ideas you have is probably a game plan. And if you pick which is going to get you to your goal the quickest, start with that. And then you can implement the things. Believe me, I know. There's an app I want to build. I want to write my next book. I have an agenda that we're working on. I had multiple programs, plus one-on-one coaching and doing all the things. And I realized it was too much. So we put the agenda on hold till the next year. We took a look at all of our services and programs, and we narrowed it down. I called it, we recalibrated earlier this year. We closed the one-on-one coaching, we closed the other group programs, and we launched Success Principles. And there's a foundation version and then the premium with the one-on-one coaching. And that allows us to have one door for people to come through. Because remember, a confused mind says no. So when you can recalibrate to what you love doing and what is getting the best result in, and is also in alignment with the market, right? And is what people are looking for, because we can't sell cats to dog lovers, right? So we want to make sure it's still in alignment with the market. And when we can simplify down that way, it will help you decide what to lean into. So I highly recommend the book, The One Thing, and look at what is reverse engineering. So you have this big, hairy, audacious goal. Okay, great. Make it a 5 or 10-year plan. Great. Now what can you start with this year that's going to get you what I like to call the quantum leap? How do we create a quantum leap? We want to do the thing that's going to get us the largest result in the least amount of time with the least amount of effort. And that's actually natural. Our mind works that way. So I encourage you to take that big, hairy, audacious goal, because probably all the things that you're thinking about, it's probably your roadmap. What is the thing that you're going to get started with that's going to be the quickest, the easiest, and move you closest to your goal, give you the largest result, and help move you closer to your goal? So if we don't have that North Star, that big, hairy, audacious goal, that life purpose and vision, we don't have boundaries. We say yes to everything. And so look at that. You started saying no, and things got better because you knew your worth. You protected your calendar. You had boundaries. You said yes to things that moved you closer to your goals and no to things that don't. And I find for a lot of people, we have the FOMO or a fear mentality, but what if I say no? It might not come somewhere else. But if you say no to all the things that aren't in alignment, there's no room in your calendar for the things that you truly desire, right? You actually have to create space in that calendar for the things to be able to flow into. We call them containers, right? If you want to increase your financial abundance, create the containers with the financial management person who's going to set up the accounts. We're also reading Profit First in our book club. So if you haven't read that, highly recommend that for your financial strategy. And that will create the containers for the money to flow into. And the same thing goes with your schedule. So I love how Bob Proctor said, whatever you're doing right now, you're trading your life for. So I hope it's worth you. And I like to add to that, and everything that's in your calendar, you're trading your life for. So what are your boundaries, and what are you saying yes to, and what are you saying no to?
Yes, that is so powerful. And it is a valuable exercise to look at what you did yesterday or look at what you did this week and ask yourself, is this how I want to be spreading my impact? Now, I will say in entrepreneurship, there are going to be things that you have to try, that you have to do, that you maybe don't love all the time. And I think there's a false message, and I hate to be the bearer of it. I hate to be the person who's always keeping it real, but I feel like I am sometimes in this industry, is like, you're going to have some parts you don't love, and it's not all supposed to be, blissful.
Rainbows and butterflies. Why not?
Yeah, there's going to be discomfort when you do your first live interview, or you're maybe not going to feel like showing up to your coaching call today, but it's on your calendar and you got to do it. And so I think that it's a balance, and obviously I think the real work is lining up your mindset to see the value in those things, to, find the enjoyment and fulfillment in those things, and realize that it's all, part of a larger mission. And as you said, your North Star, and having that strong why. So I think too, one of the things that I want to ask you about, because you were saying that you got to kind of break down your goal and say no to things and constrain and all that. What would you say would be some activities that, if somebody's looking to attract clients and they're looking to create, quote unquote, their marketing plan, what could they be doing to be attracting clients instead of chasing clients? Because one of the things I know you mentioned is you were talking about that recently when building your brand. So tell me a little more about that.
Absolutely. So for so many people, we think we have to go get clients. What if you could actually attract them through the right messaging and marketing? And I just want to go back for a second, because I want to add to what Hailey said. It is true. Every single day is not going to be rainbows and butterflies. The only way you're going to grow is through challenging times. In NLP, they call it the putrefaction process. Here's the current version of you. Here's your goal. You go to jump to your goal, and guess what happens? I call it the transformation tornado. You enter it, and you actually have to go through challenging things to grow, to become a new version of you, to entertain and receive that new level of your life. If you want something different, you need to be different, because 95% of what we do in a day is habitual. 95%. So if you don't change and grow, then no matter what we do, we can take last year's results and put them over top of this year's, and I promise you it's going to be the same. That is by science. So 95% of what you do in a day is habitual, and habits come from our belief systems, which come from our conditioning. So we actually need to work on that mind. So I'm going to give you some great branding tips, but until you keep growing and evolving and own your mind, then what you do, there's the doing the thing, and then there's the energy you do the thing in. And then there's our perception. So yes, every day is not going to be rainbows and butterflies. You're going to get up and there's going to be things on your calendar that you committed to that you're like, I don't want to do it today. And if you're an entrepreneur, you might be able to be like, you know what? I'm going to reschedule my day and I'm going to change it up, and I'm going to spend 3 hours in the forest. I do it. I have done it. And that's the pleasure of being an entrepreneur. And sometimes you're going to need to do it. And that's when you get to pull up your big girl pants, pull out the big, hairy, audacious goal, and you choose the perception of gratitude that you're grateful that that's on your calendar today, and that you have a business to run, and you have clients to serve, and you have podcast shows to go on, and you enter the new version of you. Okay. So now let's talk about branding and creating that messaging so that we can attract the client. Step one, you need to know who you want to attract. So I find for so many people, when they're discovering who is their ideal avatar, they get stuck here. So your avatar is going to evolve as you evolve, as your business evolves. So be okay with starting out maybe a little bit wider and then niching down as you go on. You can sell a program for organization for $200, and you can sell a program for organization for business owners for probably $1,000, and organization for business owners who are health coaches for $15,000, right? When you niche down, you can actually charge more because it's more specific and more supportive to them. So we do want to get to that point that we are niche down more, and I don't want this to stop you, okay? So if you're getting stuck on the niching part and getting stuck on designing your avatar, just think about the psychosocial. Who is the type of person I like to work with? What is the problem that they have? How can I solve it? And what are the results I'm going to help them get? And you write the story of your avatar. Once you're clear on who you're helping, I dare you to get into conversations with those people so that you can hear their language. Because we're all great in our zones of genius. And then we get out there and we start blabbing in our specialized language that is irrelevant and not getting the attention and attracting our avatar. It's not, so I like to say, optimal human performance. But not one of my clients was running around looking for optimal human performance, right? They're burnt out, they're overwhelmed, they keep bouncing off their own glass ceiling. They want to scale, they want to leave an impact, and they just don't have the strategies or the self-image or mindset to do so. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about being stuck. So you want to get into the conversations to speak with those clients so that you can actually have the right messaging. And so the first thing when you're building that branding is you want to think about from the view of that ideal client. So in order to do that, you need to know who the client is. And so once you're there, I want you to think about who you are, what do you do, how do you help them, who do you help, and the results that you help them get. And you're going to speak to the pain points. So what are they struggling with? And you're going to speak to the solution, the results that you help them get. And we're going to include that in our messaging. And we're going to align all that messaging with our ideal client and then our pillars and our North Star that's in alignment with our brand. So what is your mission, your vision, and your values? Your mission is what you came here to do, right? Your vision is where you're going, where the company's going, where your clients can go. And then those values are those key themes and pillars that are in alignment with your company. So you know that any content that you create is going to be in alignment with that avatar and with that branding. And that's when the marketing comes in. Then the marketing is the next step. But the marketing will be based around that avatar and around that branding. And that's when you can lean into the marketing, and then you can go and get Hailey's free content roadmap, and then you can map out your marketing that's going to attract the right clients instead of having people scroll on by.
Yes, really well laid out. And actually, I have an even better freebie for people who are trying to figure out their niche. It's my free niche marketing training at HaileyRowe.com, because that is a big step. If you don't know, it's every step after when it comes to marketing is so confusing. If you don't know who the heck you're even trying to talk to and what problem you're trying to solve, like it's like when people say I don't know where to start, I'm like, start there. Figure out what do you want this to even be, And so
Absolutely.
I think you laid out a really nice roadmap for people to figure out what's your why, what's your vision, what's your pillars, and naturally how you show up as a personal brand is going to attract people like that. And I think it's been so crazy to see, like, I'm a big fan of the coaching industry. I think it's really valuable. I think having a coach has changed my life. But I also see a lot of negativity in the industry. And I feel like, thankfully, like I see it maybe on my newsfeed sometimes, but it's not in my like inner world. And I think it's because naturally how you show up is what you attract, or what who is in your world. And so I think naturally you're going to find that the people who are coming to you are matching what you're promoting. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. We attract who we're being. So by quantum mechanics, energetically, we will send out thought impulses into the quantum field or net, however you want to look at it. And we actually begin to attract back So like-minded experiences, like-minded people, and it's who we're being. So how do we show up on our social media platforms? That's why we want to have our story down so that when they go to Instagram, it's part of the story. When they go to Facebook, it's part of your story. When they go to LinkedIn, it's part of the story. When they come on this show, they hear more of my story. And all of that is in alignment with that branding.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what would you say to somebody who maybe is like, okay, I want to attract who I'm being, but they're being a perfectionist and they're letting that stop them from sharing their message in the first place?
Then you're making it about you. And there's no growth there for you, and you can't serve anybody if it's about you. Heart-led sales means you came here to serve. And if you are too busy thinking about you and you're too afraid to get out there to ask, then you can't help and you can't serve. So we want to make it about what's in it for that other person and what's the value for them. And we want to get out of our own way.
Amen to that. I always share the story about how I used to sing in a wedding band. I still sing in a wedding band, but I sub for them now. And how when I was focused on how am I looking, how am I sounding, am I doing a good job? And I was all about me in my head. I was like, that's not what I'm getting paid to be here to do. I'm getting paid to be here to focus on the audience, to engage the audience, to think about what the audience wants to hear, to pay attention to them, not be in my own head, having these little like thoughts taking me away from the performance. So I think what you just shared there is really important to remind yourself that this is all about who you're here to serve and what kind of impact you're here to make. And of course, make money while doing it and be a business owner and enjoy the process. But I think it does take a little bit of the load off when you come back to, wait, hold on. I'm here to hear what my audience wants and needs and provide that. What about, I'm going to ask you one more thing. When it comes to your whole journey, what is one thing you wish other people knew about entrepreneurship that maybe isn't talked about a lot, or maybe people try to shy away from, or, that you just want to share?
It requires resilience and mindset. That's why only 10% of the population is willing to do it, because it requires long-term vision. It requires tenacity. You're going to have to test things out. Not everything is always going to work. And it might not work the first time. And that's what I think I see so many people do, right? They're like, oh, I did a launch and I only had 5 people. Well, amazing. Let's switch that perception. You had 5 people. Not only, you had 5 people. And because they get stuck and they're like, oh, it was only 5 people. They don't serve those 5 people. And yet they could have all closed. And then they give up. Right. And so I just see way too many people give up way too easily, way too soon. I love how Grant Cardone says, if you want to grow a business and earn more money and have a bigger business, you're going to have bigger problems. And so I want you to think about it like this way. The size of the problems that get you down will be the size of you and your life and business.
Yes. Woohoo. I love that. I always say, if I were to ask you, how many steps are you willing to take for your business to work? And if your answer to that is finite, like if it's like 20 or 5, or I'll do one launch and see how it goes. And I'm like, oh, I don't know.
You're not committed.
If you answer as many as it takes until it works, then I'm like, all right, we got a winner here. And so and going in with that expectation too, usually it ends up working faster for you anyways, because you have that mindset versus the person who's like, well, if it works with my conditions and if it's 5 steps and, if it's this way, then I'll do it. I'm like, oh no.
And I promise you it won't work, because the number one thing to manifest into creating what you want, you must decide. You must decide, commit, and burn the boats. This is the only way it's happening. Mm-hmm. Right? You've buried the exit plan. This isn't, plan B. There is no plan B. This is it. And only when we have that kind of committed attitude to just figure it out until we find the way that works and works the best for us, and then we lean all in, that's the only way it's going to work. It's like a diet. You're like, I think I'm going to eat some carrots sometimes. And if that works, then I'll keep doing it. That doesn't work that way.
Yeah. And the way I like to think about it too, is I had a big ambitious goal for last year and I did not hit it, but I was very close, and close in my world, it was very ambitious. So it wasn't that close, but it was pretty close in my mind. Okay. And I know that was the whole point. That's why I kind of was like, if I get it, amazing. But I know I'm going to get way closer to it if I set the goal and be willing to try as many things and fail and make mistakes and evolve and become that person as much as I can right now. And so I did come closer than if I wouldn't have had that goal. And if I set something realistic and just was like, And so I think it's really important to know, like, it's not that I've given up. It's not that I didn't hit it. It's that I actually came a lot farther than I would have had I not had the goal. And I'm still figuring it out. But that is like something that has evolved me as a person. And I would have shared with the audience here, like, have your ambitious goals and be willing to, and know that what's, as you said, the Grant Cardone quote, bigger changes, bigger shifts in your mindset, bigger things are going to be expected of you to hit that goal, and just be willing to do what it takes and be willing to figure it out. So on that note, where can everybody connect with you, Heather?
Well, I just wanted to add one thing to that, because I am like the goal master. I teach goal planning, all the things. And the one thing that I find is some people's goals are too small and then they don't excite you, you're not committed, because it's not going to change the quality of your life. So you're not willing to get up and do what needs to get done because the goal is actually not big enough. So I like to teach SMART goals. In neurolinguistics programming, we call them SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, with a timeline. The realistic is important because we need to consciously believe we're going to do it. And it also needs to be big enough to change the quality of your life, to actually inspire you to shift your physiological state, to feel excited about this new quality of life. Otherwise, one, energetically cannot attract it, and two, you're just not going to be willing to do what you need to do to make it happen because it doesn't excite you enough. So make sure that goal sets your soul on fire.
Yes. All right. Where can people connect with you?
So ownitempire.com, that is my website. You can grab my ultimate customizable free habit tracker there. And I joke that, habit tracker, it's not so sexy. And I promise you, it's the best gift you'll ever receive, because you change your habits, change your life. Your belief systems are running your habits, and your belief systems show up in the habitual things you do 95% in a day. And so we pick 1 or 2 habits to change at a time, and we focus on them per quarter. And then a year from now, your life can and will be unrecognizable if you use this. So go to ownitempire.com, grab that free customizable habit tracker. And if you wanted to get on a free strategy call, the link is there. And I look forward to chatting with all of you. And thank you, Hailey, so much for having us on the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Heather, and I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this podcast. And if it's really helpful for you, I'd really appreciate if you share it and or leave a written podcast review. This tells the podcast sites that our show is useful, and it will be promoted to more people that way. Thanks again.